I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to open the meeting, public hearing on local law number 3, adult use and entertainment establishment regulations law. Do we have any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? We'll close the public hearing. And Trustee Penfield?
I'll make a motion that we pass local law number 3 of the year 2004, regulating adult uses and entertainment establishments, entitled Adult Use and Entertainment Establishment Regulation Law.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Trustee Penfield.
Aye.
Trustee Jefferson.
Aye.
Trustee Moore.
Aye.
Never call you Moore. And Deputy Mayor votes aye. Okay. Open the meeting to comments from the public. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, you'll have a chance at the end of the meeting. Minutes of the previous meetings of May 17th and May 28th. Any omissions or corrections? Good evening, sir. Hello.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Bills.
We have no additions, deletions.
Good thing.
In the nick of time.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Correspondence.
We only have one letter from Randy Daniels, Department of State, addressed to the mayor. On behalf of Governor Pataki, I am pleased to be able to provide funding through the local waterfront revitalization program of the Department of State under Title 11 of the Environmental Protection Fund to the Village of Rouses Point to undertake the following projects: construction of lakefront boardwalk and park amenities, $200,000. And that was sent by Randy Daniels.
Who is the Secretary of State?
Good news.
Very good news. Incidentally, it's because of Randy Daniels having visited Rouses Point that we got moved up to the Big 12 list. And we have to thank legislator Celine Paquette for bringing them here, their old college friends. Mayor has no reports. Trustee Huckrow announced 2 pieces of surplus equipment. On behalf of the mayor, I would like, from Brian Belke, would like to be advised that the 1979 American France 303 can be surplus. And we need a motion on that, Carol?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Who's going to make the motion?
I'll make a motion. Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion?
How much is it worth? Just roughly, you have any idea?
It's hard to say. Depends who's looking for it.
Yeah.
It's worth a while.
Okay.
We need roll call?
No.
No. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Passed. Surplus equipment from Brian. Please be advised that the 35-foot 3-section ladder can be surplus. We would like to suggest a minimum bid of $300 be placed on this item. The mayor is not obligated to take bids on this surplus item. However, we will suggest that that be the minimum amount of money that can be accepted. Motion, please.
Make a motion.
Second.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
What is it?
It's a truck that was bought and never used. It was a ladder that was bought and never used. It's an extension ladder, quite heavy.
Fire department or village?
Actually, it's an
Fire
old,
department.
it's an old one.
Oh, okay.
It's an old one. It's been around since 79, maybe?
Okay.
It's never been used.
Is it made of wood or?
No,
Oh, aluminum. But
I
it's
think
heavy.
it's 3-section.
Maybe one of the local contractors will want it.
Maybe.
Heavy letter.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, update on 4th of July. I don't know if everybody has a copy of this yet. And I have to thank Carol Hanfield. Brian, you've got your copy.
I've got stacks of.
You've got a few of them.
Yep.
And these will be available for the public at the end, at any time, really. Program is, we just had a meeting, program is done, it's set. Starting at 5 o'clock on Friday, we've got entertainment, we've got a team dance from 7 to 11 at Rouses Elementary School. We also have flashback down here at the gazebo from 8:30 until 11:30. Going back to the team dance for a second, that is the item that we are asking the teams, and when we say teams, we mean teams, 13 to 19, that's it. We are asking them to either bring a non-perishable food item, and if they don't, $1. There will be that much of an admission to that event, and that the money and the items, of course, will be donated to the food shelf. And that's being sponsored by Shaving Hardware and Marble Windows. And Flashback is being sponsored by Riley Ford, a new sponsor this year. On Saturday, we have village-wide garage sale, Independence Day craft show inside the Civic Center. Something new this year again is demo sailboat races by the Point of Fair Yachting Club. Is that what they call themselves? Yeah. And there'll be a race in the morning at 10 o'clock and the afternoon at 2 o'clock. And they're looking for participants. From 10 till 5, the kids' games, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The afternoon will be 2 activities for the children. Tyler Berto, an illusionist, sponsored by Delegar, and the Magic Trunk Ventriloquist, sponsored by Champlain Plastics. From 3 until 6 that afternoon, live music by Rest Avenue, sponsored by the Sportsman Club. 8 until 11:30 that night, South Junction, sponsored by PowerTech. On Sunday, 9 to 3 is the car show. Noon until whenever is the Rouses Point Fire Department Chicken Barbecue. And 2 o'clock, live music at the gazebo again, Just Us, sponsored by Parker's. 7 o'clock is the parade, and fireworks over Lake Champlain, sponsored by Wyeth again this year. And after the parade, for at least 1 hour, a band called Zero Tolerance, sponsored by Lakeview Pavilion. We've got a lot going on. And I have to thank Carol for all of this. She has done an absolutely marvelous job in getting this thing together. Thank you.
She's a master.
She is a master. And we expect the same kind of quality next year. So, and any questions on 4th of July?
Parade route.
Parade route. Parade will start at Sportsman's Pier, come up Montgomery to upstate to Maple, south on Maple to Pine, east on Pine to Lake, and back. Okay? We just can't use Champlain Street this year, even if there's a coat of pavement on it. The sidewalks and all that kind of thing aren't going to be, we've been guaranteed they won't be ready yet. We're just better off to do what we're doing. That's all I guess I have. Trustee Penfield.
I just have one item this evening. It's regard to a letter that was sent, I guess on Doug's behalf by Eric, to the Kubricki Construction Corporation, asking them for a proposal for labor costs to complete the extension of the sanitary sewer system along Route 11 westward to Ashwood Drive. We received a letter back from them which offered to complete the above work for the lump sum of $24,771. It's my understanding, talking to Carol today, that Phil had a meeting with Brian Pelkey, and that I guess we prefer to have the village crew do the project rather than take the offer from Kubricki. Is that, you aware of that, Doug?
That's my understanding too.
Yes, okay. And so now this project, Doug, is to take care of the placement of where the piping is that
Yeah,
that
right
correct?
now there is the houses on Champlain Street, west of where Academy and Champlain intersect. Their sewer empties into the back, on a line and back. And so there are a few houses from Ashwood Drive East. There's 3 or 4 houses that have problems occasionally with their sewer because of the depth and shallowness of the piping. And so the idea was, while Route 11 was ripped up, that we could bring their sewer laterals forward into Champlain Street, and they'd have a better slope, and they'd have less chance of blockage or problems in the future. So this is approximately 500 feet, a sewer line collection line extension from Academy, roughly, out to Ashwood Drive for 4 houses.
My understanding is that the village crew will be looking at a time that's appropriate for them to be working in that area.
Yeah,
With Kubricki.
they'll have to coordinate with Kubricki. And so my question for the board is, do you wish me to respond to this letter telling them thank you, but we'll do it ourselves, and our DPW supervisor will coordinate with their field superintendent, or do you want to just leave it up to the DPW to speak?
I didn't
on
speak
their own
with Phil
behalf?
today. Carol passed the message along to me that he had met with Brian about this. Maybe, I don't know whether Phil intends to respond to them or not.
I am sure we will.
Run it by Phil, see what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know the letter's addressed to you, Doug, so maybe.
Yeah, because they were responding to
We
our
can
letter.
double check with Phil and then.
All right, I'll check with Phil to see if he's going to send something, or if I needed to send anything to close the
Phil
loop.
won't be back to Thursday.
All right.
Phil won't be back till Friday.
Oh, really? Right.
So you might want to catch him by phone tomorrow. Use them all.
Did you ask him, Carol? Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Doug. That's all I have for tonight.
Trustee Jefferson.
Okay, I don't really have anything on the agenda tonight, but I just want to talk about a couple things just briefly. Because the parade is Sunday night, the 4th, at 7 o'clock, the parade in Plattsburgh is at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a little bit of a conflict. So again, we're looking for entries for the parade. We'll take entries right up to parade time. If you'll come down here between 5 and 6 o'clock. We're going to put people in the Delagar parking lot. The bands and the big trucks will be down around the Sportsman's. And we'll start the parade at 7 o'clock. And just another thing that I'd like to remind people in the village, there's a lot of people hopefully coming for the parade this year. So please, cut your lawns and spruce up your houses as much as you can, because we're trying to bring business into the village. The more people come to the village and see that it looks nice, it might bring some more businesses and some more people to the community. So if you could help us out with that, we'd greatly appreciate it. And that's all I have to report tonight.
Thank you, Trustee Jefferson. Trustee Moore?
I have nothing.
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 Other reports, Brian is not here. Doug, easements?
Yes, there's a few small projects we have going in the village, and one is the parking lot, the village municipal parking lot in behind Old Times Cafe. What's happening is Trustee Moore has recognized that the property line between the village parking lot and Old Times parking lot is not really straight. It's at an angle. And in the interest of aesthetics and functionality of the parking lot, it really would be good if that were squared up between our two landowners, us and Old Times. And so we've spoken with the village attorney, Tom Renane, who said it'd be nice if we could just say, hey, we'll pave it and call it even. He's suggested that what we do is we actually appropriately transact the land. And so there's no question in the future about ownership or liability or goodwill or anything. So it would involve a minor land swap of 2 small pieces of land in order to square up the parking lot. We've got a quote from the surveyor to do the surveying. It would be approximately $250 for the surveying for the easement. Then we would have Tom Renane's legal costs, which I'm not able to estimate, but I could guesstimate at $500 or so. And so maybe a safe budget would be $1,000 is what you would be incurring expense for if you were to look to square up that parking lot legally. Similarly, you have another easement we're working on. Brian Pelkey pointed out that on State Street near Ray's Appliance, he wants to move one of the electrical transformers that's just off, that is on the road side of the sidewalk. He wants to push it on the structure, the house side of the sidewalk. And so in order to do that, we'll be going out of our village right-of-way. We would need an easement to move that transformer onto, and junction box onto Ray's property. And so similarly, that would be about $250 in surveying and perhaps, again, $500 in legal. So again, a budget of $1,000 for the paperwork in order to do that. Third item is something that Mayor Rivers has been following for a year or two now. On Smith Street, I believe it's 18 Smith Street, Fred Wright's residence. He has flooding problems there as development has occurred and everything. When we have significant storm events, his back patio, garage, basement becomes a collection point. And one fix would be to put a catch basin in his backyard and tie it into the village storm sewer system. Similarly, again, we're looking at least the legal paperwork side, $250 plus $500, another budget of $1,000. So before you tonight, I'm looking for direction from the board for, would you like to proceed with these three items?
The first two I don't have a problem with. The last one, I wish George was here for you to explain it and see, more about what's going on with it. But the first two I have no problem with.
Okay.
I agree with you on the third one. I think we just, because of some discussions that were had a year ago.
Yeah. Okay. Do I need a motion or just your direction consensus to proceed?
Better have a motion.
Need a motion, Carol?
Spend money, yeah. I'll make the motion to go ahead with the first two easements
Okay.
at Old Times Cafe, and then the other one is on
Ray's Appliance.
Ray's Appliance on Lake.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Okay.
Doug, can I ask you a question while I got you, or are you?
Yes. No?
No, let's see, it seemed like it was last Sunday, I was riding on Lake Street, and Joe Turner owns a house, would be 2 houses down from the old Saxony, and he was pumping out a 4-inch water. So I stopped, because he's in the stock investment club. I said, "You got a water, is there something leaking?" He goes, "No." He said, "The water's pouring in the cellar." And he said, "I've got one of these triple sub pumps. It's pumping it out." And I guess it's got something to do with one of the sewer lines is blocked on Champlain Street, because it would be his place. I guess Henny Chapman had trouble,
I had the same problem.
and you got the same problem. And Sandy LeBumbert has a problem too. Now, I know there's a lot of groundwater and everything's not fixed, but, I mean, there's no lakes or anything in the village that we know of?
Well, that's something that's come to our attention also. Just a couple doors down from Mr. Turner's and Mr. Graves or Grace. And he contacted our office, and we went and visited him, and we spoke with Brian Pelkey. And there was a couple things happening. One is we had a tremendous amount of rainfall,
Yeah.
which recharged the groundwater table. 2 is we've got a tremendous amount of construction going on. So right as I stand here, it's hard to say which is which. The only thing we can say is we've got more water in people's basements than we used to have. Something's changed. And so I'm talking to Brian Pelkey to begin to do some troubleshooting, to go to Mr. Grace's place and start working backwards, figuring out what's going on. It could be a temporary condition because of the work that's being done on Route 11 when they get the new storm sewer in, or something could have been broken or cut off, and now it's backing up. So that's on the radar, and we're looking at it. So it's come to our attention, and we're just beginning to.
Years ago, between Henny Chapman's property and his property, he's got the big red apartment building, there was a line that ran down there years ago. Well, since it's been closed or whatever, so I don't know if that's got something to do with it either, but that might be something that we can keep in mind. Might be able to go and talk to Joe Turner.
Oh, no, definitely. Well, right now it's undecided whether it's something that the village engineer will be following up on, or if the DPW is going to be doing the troubleshooting. But whoever it is, we'll have to talk to everybody to figure out what it is.
Because I went to the village office and I asked the water tank operator, I said, "Is there something going on where there's maybe a leak in the village here where we're using a lot more water?" And he goes, "Well, it's variable this time of year. People are, when it's real hot, people are watering their lawns."
Yes.
So he said, "No, I don't think so." And I said to Joe, I said, "Why don't you go in and turn on all the water in the apartments and see if there's a problem? Because if you've got a leak here, your pressure should go down." And he said, "No, there wasn't."
Joe's always had flooding.
Yeah, but he had a 4-inch pipe, and then you had another one
We've been
coming
there
out.
many times, fire department pumping.
Oh, you have?
Sorting and
On Maple Street, Truckee Benfield said she had a problem with water, and also 2 doors away from her, the Carl Monte residence, they've had a water problem this year, especially their lawn, it's kind of like a swamp. And that's not happened before.
No.
And what seemed to happen at my house, Doug, was a sudden influx of maybe 3 or 4 inches of water through the sump hole, almost as if it was coming back from the
Yeah.
storm sewer. And it had a tremendous amount of foam with it, almost like soap bubbles.
Hmm. You have a sub pump?
Yeah.
Does it come on normally?
Oh, yeah, it runs all the time.
Yeah, mine
Yeah,
too.
yeah. But this was unusual. This was a week ago Thursday, so it'll be 2 weeks this Thursday, and which was a very dry day. But I was gonna ask you, Doug, if someone at the office is tracking dates and addresses for when this
Yeah.
is happening. Because if it does coincide with something with the construction, it would be good to track, if people are reporting it, the dates that they're reporting and their addresses.
Well, there was a problem over the weekend. One of the guys from Krabicki, how do you say the name?
Kubricki.
Krabicki, said to me, one of the storm sewer lines had a big 5-gallon pail in it and was blocking it. And they had put it in there, but they didn't realize that it was still in there. So eventually they took that out and it took some of the pressure off, but they had to come up with a big pump, and that's a commercial pump. You can see it's a pretty big deal, and it's been running since, well, I guess it was Saturday night. We had trouble, we had guys up there on overtime and stuff. So there is, I mean, I know it's part of the problem because it's not finished, but something's not right up there.
Yeah. So, thanks.
Yep, thank you.
We have a guest speaker tonight, Mr. Carr.
Mr. Carr?
And he's got his script all prepared, and you guys got copies of it, so I'll defer to Mr. Carr.
Just a quick update here on the water and sewer projects. I think it's been a while since I've been up here, and I thought there's a lot of ongoing stuff on both projects, but I thought I better scoot up here tonight and give you a quick update. On the water project, we've had a series of meetings and have resolved any disagreements with Luck Brothers, and they should be back in town here within a week fixing up their punch list items. The telemetry system on the water tank has been debugged. I spent a significant amount of time in the last month debugging it and trying to find out why things weren't working the way they were designed. Basically traced it back to a level sensor. The contractor installed at the top of the tank. They agreed on Friday to ship a new level sensor to the village, and they're going to test it and then reinstall it on Thursday or Friday of this week. That will allow the new tank to be filled and the old tank to be empty. It's been a real headache for the water operations crew and some of the other people involved in the project, and it took a while to find out what the problem was, but we're pretty confident that the bugs will be out of that hopefully by the end of this week. The new 36-inch pipe, serpentine piping, if you will, on the west side of the new water storage tank has been installed, disinfected, and the bacteria test has passed. We're awaiting the final pressure test, which is scheduled for Wednesday. They had a little bit of a delay there by the wet weather, grading things around, but hopefully that work should be pretty much completed by Friday of this week. The village signed the long-term loan agreement with the state on June 2nd, formalized that final financing. In conjunction with that, our office submitted cost documentation by Thursday of last week, and closing on the loan is currently scheduled for July 22nd, 2004. During my visits to the village last week, couple of mechanical deficiencies were still pointed out to my attention in the water plant, and I met with Luck Brothers, and they are pressuring their subcontractor to get in there and resolve that issue so that life in the water plant can get back to somewhat normal. I would hope that we can have the contractors do their duty and have those real minor issues resolved this week. In conjunction with debugging of the telemetry system for the tank level, I discovered another little problem with the water meter that was installed last year at the water storage tank. Basically, the factory upgraded the water meter itself, which is a pretty substantial unit. This was all kind of done without anybody's knowledge, including the contractor. They just didn't upgrade the sensors on the meter. So consequently, the meter that's in place is going to have to eventually be swapped out to a new one with the proper sensors on it. And we're trying to schedule that with the village water plant personnel for sometime in the upcoming time period, either when the tank is drawn down for its scheduled inspection or some convenient time after the 36-inch main is completed. Because the 36-inch main will be online, you won't need a boil water notice or anything like that. So eventually, the benefits of the new water system improvements are coming online, and the water department's slowly beginning to realize the benefits. One other thing on the water project is that I made a couple of calls to a prospective buyer of your tank, and I sent him off all the documentation, that being the old tank. I sent that off to him last week and talked with a fella from their corporate headquarters over in Massachusetts, and he was going to look through the report and get on through his planning here in the next week or 10 days. I'll pester him again to see if he's really interested or if it's just something that popped up. I haven't heard anything back from Champlain on whether they're still interested or not. I will endeavor to call the fellow over there and see if he was quite interested when I talked to him before, but we'll chase that around a little bit here in the next week or two. See if we can update some status on that. On the sewer project, a couple of engineers at the office, Aaron Jarvis, who some of you folks have met, and Mike Christie, an electrical engineer, met with the Tom and Ernie up at the wastewater plant, went through a series of question and answer type things to work out some final details on electrical and other little items on the upcoming sewer project. In conjunction with that, they've scheduled a little plant tour so that the operators can view the new age or upgraded version of your existing sludge press. It's one that should replace the existing and upgrade your capacity significantly. The other one's about 14 years old, so it's getting pretty worn out, but this new version should alleviate some of the problems that the plant people had a couple of years ago with their sludge. That's set for Wednesday of this week, and I know Tom was trying to reach the village board members to see if they might want to attend. I think he was going to try and chase you down tomorrow. In addition to that, I had a series of rather lengthy conversations with the Army Corps of Engineers in regards to the new outfall line. As you're well aware, we spent a couple of years discussing various aspects of that with the DEC, and they issued a permit, so now the Army Corps is finally getting around to deciding whether or not they need to issue a permit. I talked with the geologist in charge, and she's going to be up here on June 25th to take a look, and she promised that she would address her any comments she had, or issue her written permission, which we've already addressed her comments a couple of years ago, but she felt it should be re-inspected and re-looked at. She's going to be up here on the 25th to take a quick look through. She's the same person that looked over the old dock that just got the grant to upgrade. So I don't really expect any surprises, but the slow wheels of bureaucracy seem to be turning, which is encouraging sometimes on a Monday to have that happen to you. The next thing on the sewer project would be a sewer committee meeting with the plant operators and the village trustees. And Aaron would like to perhaps squeeze that in next week, either the 15th or the 16th. So I throw that out there for your comment, checking your schedule and whatever schedules.
I think the 15th, John, is a Tuesday. So is it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday?
It's Wednesday and Thursday. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So that would be the 16th or the 17th. And we've discussed several things with the state revolving loan fund on funding for the ultimate long-term funding for the project. And as I'm sure Arsen would tell you, it's been a lengthy battle with the drinking water fund financing, but and we're hoping to get around a lot of those problems on the sewer project, and consequently I've established, kind of for my own purposes, a loan application submission of June 25th of this year. That would put us in pretty good shape funding-wise for their cycle. There's a number of steps that need to be, decisions that need to be made, and hopefully those can be made at the next village board meeting, which will occur after the sewer committee meeting. So hopefully we should have that in pretty good shape by the 1st of July anyway.
Any questions?
I just have one about this Army Corps of Engineer written permission. Is that a potential additional delay, John, or we're still, I know we're still waiting on the final word from the DEC, is that correct or not?
We have final clearances from the DEC.
So we're all set in terms of the revised paperwork having gone in?
That was, the revised paperwork was actually submitted a year ago, but they delayed certain things.
But within the last couple of months, I know we sent them
Yeah, I
more.
sent another package in. It had some minor revisions, but.
But we're set.
There is one thing that I was hoping to get on the agenda tonight, but I guess it didn't make it because Phil's out of town. But with the OGS, they need a little bit of survey work done to describe in a legal format, suitable form for the state, the easement down through the old bridge access road. I did obtain a proposal from the surveyor, and I'm afraid it got lost in the shuffle here. The mayor out of town and Phil out of town, but I would hope that that could be considered next week to allow, or next meeting, to allow that work to proceed, and that would finalize it up. As far as the Army Corps, there's always a potential delay, but considering they've been smiling and saying yes to us for 2.5 or 3 years, I really would be hard pressed to find a reason for them to delay us.
Maybe we could do the surveying, if we're gonna do these other easements, and we bring this other, we can all maybe coordinate it, we do it all in one shot instead of bring them up.
I have a copy of that proposal, John sent it to me, and the plan was that the surveyor would do this all in one fell swoop. That's why he was able to give us a very competitive price. And for the surveying that needs to be done for the outfall, it's $750. And then there would be an additional $234 for the easement we need behind Shazy Hardware. So I would submit this to you tonight and ask you to consider voting on it tonight, just like we voted on the other easements, so that we could proceed without delay on this outfall. We've had plenty of delays already, so.
So it'd be about another $1,000 still.
That's 1,000 for the paperwork that's needed for the OGS, so they can say this is a piece of property, and also for Shazy Hardware, so they know that the village has the right to go into their back parking lot to repair the line. We should never have to go there, but we have the right to go there.
I'll make that motion.
Anybody have a problem with it?
No, I think we should jump on
It'll be
it.
done, yeah.
The quicker we can get it done, the quicker it's gonna get done. I'll make the motion that we will go ahead with the financing for the easement and the survey of the property to facilitate the sewer, or the water project,
Sewer project.
sewer project. Excuse me.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Trustee Penfield,
Aye.
trustee Jefferson,
Aye.
trustee Moore.
Aye.
Deputy mayor votes aye. Carried. Mike, is that all, John?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Last month, the mayor had a letter from Friends of the North Country on hazard mitigation. And I mentioned to Phil that I was gonna be attending that meeting, which was held at 6 o'clock this evening. So I was able to go to it, and I was there, legislator Celine Paquette was there, Rodney Brown, and then Victoria Zisner Johnson, the executive director. Basically, what it's for is if the village wants to get in on any hazards that would be paid for by FEMA, they have to send a letter of intent with what they would be looking for as far as being covered. You have to send a letter either way, either you want to be part of the program or you don't. Now, this letter has to be in by sometime next week. And she gave me a list of things that they would potentially cover: flooding, ice jams, ice storm, earthquake, wildfire, tornado, severe storms, and then a host of anything you can come up with. And one of the things that they came up with, which kind of surprised me, was if you have low areas where you want to raise culverts or do ditching, where this causes property damage, they may have funding for this. None of this money is guaranteed right off the top. They have to draw up a plan, and then at some point in time, you know, the village would apply for a different, it's like a form of a grant, basically. But initially, you have to make the determination of whether you want to be a part of this or not. So that was the scope of the meeting for this evening.
Can you get some paperwork on that?
There wasn't no paperwork. It's just a letter that would have to be drawn up by the village. And, I mean, I took a few notes as to what they're looking for, but if the village is interested in it, I'll work with whoever wants to.
Well, George won't be back this week, and Phil will be back Friday.
On Friday?
Okay, I just assume wait and
Okay.
have a look at it, but that may solve one of the problems we were talking about earlier, Jim. May help with it at least.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, they had a whole host of different things that you could apply for. I mean, there's, like anything else, there's nothing guaranteed. But if you opt out of the program, then there's no chance of getting anything. So, I mean, some of this stuff had to do with flooding of the Great Shazy River was one of the things that was brought up at this meeting. But the village itself probably doesn't have a lot of these other problems, but there are still other things.
Earthquake.
Earthquake. They mentioned early warning systems, like for fires or natural hazards or whatever. So, you know, you can get stuff for the fire department, stuff like that. But
So essentially what we would be doing now is letting them know that, yes, we're interested in the future, you may be hearing from us for application for some of these things.
Right.
Is that
It
correct?
would be saying, yes, we're interested, and and then we would describe what areas we would be looking at, like whatever particular problems you have in the village.
Would something like the flooding that happened last August with that one
Oh, yeah.
rainstorm?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Severe storms, I mean, if
Yeah.
say your storm drains aren't adequate in a particular part of the village where they overflow for a lot of different reasons, there's the potential that money would be available to, rectify some of these things, so. I mean, I happen to think of that because I know there's a couple areas in the village where they've talked about it, so.
right.
And I was surprised that, they were interested in those kinds of problems, so,
Bill's good at that, right?
Certainly is interesting.
yeah. Okay, so when he gets back on Friday, I'll get with him and.
Yeah.
we can do
What's the date on it? You said it's like next week, or?
Yeah, she said that by the end of next week, they'd like to have all the letters of intent in, and then they're gonna formalize a draft plan, and then it goes to another commission. Eventually, it'll get back to little towns and villages.
Anything else, Blake?
Pardon me?
Anything else?
That's it for me.
Thank you,
Mike, was there any
Go ahead.
progress on the Holland after June 1st or no?
Well, they have made some progress, I guess. They put cardboard over the windows.
Cardboard, oh, that's good.
Well,
Better than
he did pick up a little bit of stuff in the back, but he hasn't done anything with that garage back there, and I gotta try and see him again. The cardboard is gonna be good for a couple of weeks, but that's not the solution. I think they need to make a better attempt at boarding that place up. But it was some progress. I mean, so we'll keep away, keep at him, I mean.
Thanks.
Thank you. Again, I'll open the meeting to the public for any comments. I'll close the meeting to the public and entertain a motion for adjournment.
You have it.
Second.
We're adjourned.
Oh.